All right, gang. Did y'all do your homework? Well, talk to me. Tell me something good. What did you find out? What interested you? I was going to congratulate Daniel on his completion of the marathon. How did he do?
He did a minute worse than last year.
Oh. Well, he's older. He's a year older. Oh. Well, pass on the congratulations. Nobody's going to be able to watch it. I can't even apologize to Facebook because I left my phone. And so, anyway, it is what it is. So y'all didn't find anything interesting in Luke chapter 1?
Well, I wanted to ask, why did she so we had to tell her, don't be afraid.
Well,
Although all women seem better at accepting those situational.
rather than me just answer that, let's talk a little bit. Did you read all the way through verse 55?
Yes.
Now think about that for a minute, and then you tell me, why did she feel surprised? It's not a dumb question by any means, but the answer in this is in this text. Otherwise, we'd just be speculating, but we really don't have to speculate why she felt surprised, because she reveals, why in the latter part of the chapter, the reading. I'm going to give you a moment on that. Any other observations, thoughts?
I have a question on why.
This is what they call the Magnificat. You've probably heard that, particularly if you were raised in the Catholic Church, because that is a popular passage in Catholicism. Your question again?
Why it says this is
And you're talking about verse 47 through 55, right?
Right, how it says this is Mary's song,
Yeah.
Why is it a song? Or why did it just say Mary said this? I was just curious about that.
Why they call it a song? I'm speculating on this, but it's poetry, it's prose, and this came out. We're led to believe this came out extemporaneously, and it was under the impetus of the Holy Spirit. She was being motivated by divine mind to say what she did. It's a beautiful passage. And it is in that part, to me, that answers the question that Kent asked. I'm trying to. My default is always, as soon as somebody asks me a question, just give them the answer. It's like let people come to their answer, and you don't ever forget it. You may forget what I say, but you won't forget what you say. Anybody have an idea of why his question was, why did Mary feel surprised at the greeting?
Why was she surprised at the
Yeah. Why was the greeting, surprising to her? What do you think? What do you think? I can tell you what I think, but what do you think? Well, don't you agree that she actually reveals that in this? He has regarded the lowly state of his maidservant. In other words, I'm a nobody. I'm a nothing. I'm a nobody. Why would this prestigious personage appear to lowly me? I think that's why she was surprised. I mean, that's my thought, along with what Anthony shared as well. The word myrrh, Mara, Mary, it all comes from the same word. Myrrh is a bitter incense. That's spice. It's a spice that is bitter. And so those three words and others come from the same Hebrew root, and it means bitter. So, in all probability, when Mary was born, something was not good for them, and so they named her to represent their circumstance at the time. This is another lesson, but we teach about how powerful names are and the meaning of names, and we certainly believe that. Anything else? Did you see anything else that struck you? Because I pulled out 3 things that I'm going to share with you, and I just wondered if anybody else saw it.
Well, again, I think the angel, my wife, that here your cousin or relative who's never had a child is also going to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
To her that this is possible.
Right.
For all this to happen.
It's support. It's affirmation. Yeah. Did you find it interesting that it's the same angel? Same angel that appeared to Zacharias. You know.
How do they know?
Well, he told him. Gabriel. It could have been Michael. It could have been Raphael. But it was Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. Well, the first thing that I wanted to share with you today, first of all, as just a preface to this lesson, and keep in mind, next Sunday is our last time to meet this year, and then we won't meet again until January the 8th. Next Sunday, I'll give you the 8th assignment so you can be prepared. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time when we come back. I've already stated this, the Christmas season really is a season of miracles. And the story lends itself to that. I think the reason why, one of the reasons why the Christmas story has survived and is so popular and is so looked forward to by people all around the world is because whether they're actually focusing on it or not, at least subliminally, it lends itself to anything can happen. You know, and it's not just in church. I mean, it's in the movies. You know, it's in What a Wonderful Life. It's in A Miracle on 34th Street. You know, this is something that people are thinking when they think about Christmas. That the Christmas story lends itself to anything can happen. This is the season of all possibilities, and so as a member of the human race, I love to be encouraged, and I think people do enjoy being encouraged, and most of us are in fairly constant need of encouragement. I mean, it's like as high as I've ever been, I've never thought, now don't even come and try to encourage me today. You know, if somebody wants to encourage me, I'll take it. You know, it's like I've never said, look, you've encouraged me too much. Don't encourage me anymore. You know, that's it doesn't work. We just like it, you know, and so I think that is divine. I think that calls into our awareness that there is a part of us that is so divine that we don't believe that there's a place in us that does not believe there's a ceiling on where we can go and what we can experience. The first thing that I wanted to bring out to you, because there's, particularly among theologians, there's so much discussion about this. Did you notice a term called the throne of David? When you read it, did it stick out to you? The throne of his father David. The promise of the angel to Mary was, you're going to have this child, and he's going to inherit the throne of his father David. Now it says his father David because it's directly relating to the genealogy in Matthew, and that is contained in Matthew. That's also contained in Luke. There's all kinds of things about the genealogy. We could, if we wanted to get real academic, we could go and just talk about that for a long time. One of the greatest distractions to people on a spiritual path is things. The tangible world, the 3D world that human beings live and operate in. The greatest tool of the devil, whatever the devil is to you, the greatest tool of the devil is distraction. It's what he started with and what he continues to do today. All of us are constantly subject to being distracted. And I mean distracted by things. And when we experience that, we lose something, at least for the moment of the distraction. The throne of David has been construed by theologians, even to this day. I did a little bit of research to see what else I could find on the subject. And it interested me that there are a group of people who believe, and maybe they're right, that the literal throne that David sat on is in Africa and is being cared for by a group of people in Africa that believe and are waiting for the return of Jesus Christ, who will physically, in his physical body, sit on that throne again. And this is not to make light of that at all. But there is so much of that in the line of thought with regard to the throne of David. If you Google it, you'll be amazed at how many people have discussed the subject of the throne of David. And everything I found was not anything like what I'm going to tell you. It was all about the physicality of it, the literalness of it. I think that what has happened to people, whether they categorize themselves as Christians or whatever form of spirituality they ascribe to, what has happened to people that are trying to be on the spiritual path is they cannot divorce themselves or divest themselves of this literalness, so that when you start looking for those kinds of things, I think you're missing the whole point. The throne of David. Who was David? Let me give you a little background. David was the 8th son of Jesse. He was the youngest son. He was a tender of sheep. He was a shepherd boy. And when you read his story as recorded in the scripture, there's no indication that he had any aspirations whatsoever to be king. He had no aspirations of the throne. Now, the king at the time was Saul. Saul was the first king of Israel. And he started out well, but he got real full of himself. And long story short, David became the second king. David was the favored king in history because of his attitude and because of the way he conducted himself. Now that's funny, because David was a wonderful guy and he was a crazy guy. He's the perfect example of humanity, in that when he was wonderful, he was just off the charts. But when he was bad, he was crazy. He literally went from facing Goliath and defeating him with a slingshot to getting in with the Philistines, who Goliath was a Philistine. He got in with them at a later point in his life and was afraid for his life. He goes from fighting Goliath to being afraid for his life, and he feigned madness and let slobber come down on his chin and was scratching on the gate of the city to make them think he's crazy, because he understood that they had sympathy for crazy people and they wouldn't kill him. So it's like David goes to one extreme to the other. He goes, from the extreme of taking care of Abigail to killing Bathsheba's husband so he can have her illicitly. It's just this giant swing. Hey, let me just don't answer this out loud. Answer this inside yourself. Have you ever wondered about yourself? Have you ever wondered about your own self? It's like, am I crazy or what? Because you go from really good thoughts inside to really crappy thoughts. It's like, who am I? What is this? I think I know the answer to that because I don't think you're that different than me. And I don't think we're that different than David. David had giant swings from greatness to he should be killed. This is the human path. And even the ones who hide it the most successfully, I guarantee you, if they ever would bare their soul, they'd tell you things about themselves and you'd go, wow, I would have never thought that about you. But this is humanity. And what the scripture refers to as the devil has always used physical things to distract us. So David did in fact sit on a throne, a physical throne. And this promise to Mary is your boy is going to inherit and is going to sit on that throne forever. Now, do angels lie? Did we ever see Jesus? Did they ever see Jesus sit on the throne? It cannot be talking about something physical. This is a metaphor. If we don't learn anything else coming together here, let's learn that there is extraordinary power beneath the words in this book. But you are going to be, of all men, most miserable if you're trying to make the words on this page holy in and of themselves. You're just going to be miserable because you're going to find things that don't agree. You're going to read in the Old, we're going to get there at some point. In the Old Testament, one writer is going to say that the army was this big, and another writer is going to tell you a completely different number. Which one is it? It doesn't matter. That's not the point of the story. So the people that are literally exhausting themselves trying to find where this throne is, believing that Jesus is going to physically come back. Now listen, can Jesus physically come back? Of course he can. There is nothing impossible. But I think if the devil can get you looking for that, you're missing your life in the moment. I know people in my past that stopped trying to make more money because they believed Jesus was about to come back and there was no point. And they went through years of this. Some people died believing that. One of my grandparents died believing that. We're being misdirected by the enemy of our spirituality. What enemy is it? The same one that talked to Eve in the garden that said, look, if you'll just get your focus to this thing here, this is where the power is. I'm telling you, if I'm learning anything on my walk, the power is not in things. Things are an expression of power. But if you think the power's in things, you are at that moment distracted. And so you will play chess like that. You will play checkers like that. You will play life like that. And you'll be constantly looking for the antidote to this in that. That must be the answer to this. And all that is just the other side of this. The answer is in what makes this and that possible. The throne of David, could that be what Jesus referred to in Luke chapter 17 when he said, listen, stop looking for it. It's not out here. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Why did David get credited with it? Because he was a man after God's heart. He wrote songs while he was tending sheep. He minded his own business. He was not ambitious for a throne. I think you could make the argument he was ambitious for God. He wanted a relationship with divinity. And so when he was alone with his harp and the sheep, he wrote songs. He wrote psalms. He is the most prolific writer of the collection of psalms that we have. He was an artistic guy. And artistry comes from divine thought. It comes from another place. People who are able to just sit down and a song come through them, and you ask them, how that? I don't know. It just poured through me. It didn't really come from me. It came through me. I've had those experiences. I dare say you've had those experiences in some place in your life. But we are such creatures of habit and of form and of dirt that because we touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it, interact with it, it gets our attention. And we start believing in it, even though in the back of our minds we know that God is breathing us. So it's not like we completely lose sight of God. It just means that we temporarily are distracted. And for me, and I guarantee it's this way for you, if you would not be distracted by things, you would probably never have an accident in your car. This is kind of scientific. I've used this before, but the guy that's in left field playing ball, his mind, if he will not overthink it, is calculating the trajectory of the ball off of the bat, and he immediately begins to run in the right direction. He's not thinking about it. His mind, the divine part of him has overtaken him at that moment. And the guys that miss are the ones that say, oh God, I hope I don't miss this. But if they don't get there, if they don't get distracted with their human frailty and they just play the game, they're in the right spot at the right time every time. I believe this is the way life works. But when we have accidents, when we have things happen that are not the way we want them, it's because we have been temporarily distracted from the truth of our being, the throne of David. Inside you is the kingdom of God, is the kingdom of heaven. There's a throne there. David found that throne because he was not looking for a throne. He was looking for God. And when you become fixated on, I'm going to find the higher part in me. I'm going to find that is making me possible. I'm going to find what is breathing me, what is beating my heart. I'm going to find that. I'm going to love that. I'm going to worship that. I'm going to serve that. When that becomes the love of your life and you stay there, your health is good. All of your bills are paid. Everything out here functions right. But what happens is we'll have a moment of that. Something moves or changes out here and gets right, and that gets our attention. It came from in here, but it happened out here, and we get focused on it, and we then are distracted from in here because something happened out here. And so we're in a constant war with distraction. The moment something happens in this 3D world that you find unsavory, if you could learn to look at it and just tell it straight out, you have no power. You couldn't do anything without what is breathing me. You are impossible by yourself. You cannot stand on your own. You have no power. If you would never stop doing that, you would find that your life is moving along beautifully and seamlessly. We so love things that we're easily distracted by them. And so that's why I submit to you that theologians are chasing the spot on this planet where the literal throne of David exists, because all they can think about is Jesus physically reappearing. They're distracted by it instead of just living out the Jesus message right here, right now. Jesus said, occupy till I come. Well, the only part of that we heard is he's coming back. He's physically coming back. But we didn't hear the occupy part. When you occupy, it's a military term. It means you control it. You have authority over it. You tell it what to do. Be the occupier. You are the ambassador of that spot, of that place. This is the Jesus message. The Jesus message also said the kingdom is inside you, so that means the throne is inside you. Jesus is the guy that came and showed the world that God is our Father. He had no exclusive on the Son, but because He showed us sonship first in a way that the world could receive it, we call Him the Son of God. But He let us know, I'm not the only Son of God. When you pray, pray like me. Pray, our Father. This is the Jesus message. And the Jesus message is intended to make your life better. I am come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. This is the Jesus message. The Jesus message is, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. I am with you. I don't care what's happening out here. Know this. It has no power. Be of good cheer. I've overcome this. Walk with me. Be where I am. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm getting this from the scripture because Ephesians says this. He hath made us. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 6 says, He hath made us. Who? Jesus hath made us to sit in heavenly places together with Him. So if Jesus inherited David's throne, through Jesus, we have also inherited David's throne. Where's the throne? It's inside you. It's within you. It's the center of the kingdom itself. And so this story is beautiful in that the angel looks at Mary and says, listen, let me tell you what's going to happen. The boy you're going to have, you're going to call his name Jesus. And the reason why you're going to call him Jesus is because it means He shall save. Don't miss next week. Salvation. It's awesome. You're going to love it. But you're going to love this. We're just getting started here. The throne of David is in every person occupying this planet right now, but they don't know it. I'm convinced that people are en masse are ignorant of the Jesus message, that they just are unaware of it. And mostly because the churches preaching Jesus are preaching a physicality that is a distraction to the message. Because we're constantly trying to get people to look at here. Now listen, I love music. I love worship. We're going to have it. And it's going to be first class. But if we get a music program that distracts us from our spiritual journey, it's not helping us. I want a music program that helps me get my mind on God. That God is breathing me, operating me, walking inside me, directing my life. That the divine intelligence that runs the universe is running me. And do you think it can do that? If it can run the stars, don't you think it can run your family? What if you stopped trying to run your family and you just went and sat on the throne? Because the next thing that happens in our story is the angel says he's going to inherit the throne of his father David, and it's going to be forever. It's not going to be taken away. And as a result of this, you're going to have a child. And she says, how is this possible? I don't have a physical relationship with the man. And he gives her an answer. He says, you're going to get overshadowed. But he said, I want to tell you something. With God, nothing will be impossible. This is the season. This is the time of the year when people come most to themselves of all other times of the year. That's why there's more giving. That's why there's more kindness. That's why there's more purchasing. Listen, Buying is not of the devil. Buying material ideology is not of the devil. You say, wait a minute, I thought you said it's about things. I know. It's about flow. And it's about God. That's the reason why the devil didn't make seed. God made seed. And every seed has an enormous ability to reproduce itself, to become more, to become more, to become more, to become more. You are seed. I am seed. What we say is seed. What we do is seed. Everything is predicated on seed, so much so that how did we ever decide that anything is impossible? This is a season, this is a time of the year that brings us to a remembrance of nothing is impossible. I don't care what thought went in your head. If it went in there, it's possible. If you can think it, it can be done. I don't care how crazy it is. An angel comes to a teenage girl and says, you're going to have a baby. And you don't have to have a man to have that baby. That's impossible. Why? Because you don't have any experience with that, so it's impossible. Because you never saw it, it's impossible. Because you never did it, it's impossible. Why do we sell ourselves that something is impossible just because we've never seen it? If other people did that, we wouldn't have airplanes. If other people did that, we wouldn't have smart cars and smart phones. The phone I left at home that I can't even apologize to Facebook for has more power than the United States computer they called Bertha, because she was so big. Don't name your child Bertha. She's going to overeat if you do. Bertha means big. Boy, he created a wide berth. So all of you people out there who have children named Bertha, or if your name is Bertha, I remit your sin. I release you. Change your name to Slim. It just means wide swath. My little iPhone is more powerful by far than Bertha, and I forget the amount of square footage she occupied. It was huge. I've seen pictures of the room. It's enormous. They had fans and everything going to cool her down because she was hot. She was a hot mess. But your phone is more powerful. What if people didn't allow themselves to think outside of what I've already experienced, what I've already seen? Are you doing that? Listen, I'm on the spiritual path, and I know some of you are because I see what you post. I know you're thinking this. But do you notice how easy it is to think yourself into a little better place than you were before, and then it's like, well, this is nice. And you just hang there. You think that's all there is of God? You think that's all there is? Retirement is a stupid idea. Now, change is not a stupid idea. But retirement in America, that I'm going to stop working, sit on my porch and drink tea, is a crazy idea. When you do that, you're telling your body, you're done. So go ahead and finish it up. Stop thinking of yourself as a number on a calendar. I'm having to really work on I find myself telling myself how old I am. That's stupid. What difference does it make? I still run up and down the stairs. I don't feel anything but good until I convince myself otherwise. Let me just stop a moment. This tells you nothing about my politics. My politics are none of your business. But have you noticed in the political arena that all of a sudden the stock market is going through the roof? Now you know why. Do you know why? You don't know why? All of a sudden Americans are feeling good about the future economically. Do you remember when we had the horrible downturn? Was it in 2008? You remember that? What caused it? People were feeling poorly about the future. Now people are feeling good. What is real? Just because all of a sudden everybody's feeling good? And I just listened to a long thing yesterday about how the economy is going to crash in the worst way we've ever seen. If enough people start believing that, it'll happen. But if people are like me and don't believe it, it's not going to happen. And I'm going to tell you, if it happens for you, it's not going to happen for me. Because I'm not going to think that way. I'm not going to operate that way. I'm not going to receive that way. And I'm not going to give that way. Are y'all in this house? Because I am of the opinion that nothing is impossible. I don't care how many times the stock market did, and I'm not even in the stock market, but I don't care how many times the stock market did something in the past. That does not mean it has to happen again. But if people think now like they thought back then, it'll happen again. Why? Because divine mind is the power in every human being. And when human beings start believing something, they make it happen. Every time. Nothing is impossible. There is a relentless effort in this 3D world, to make us accept what is as what will be. I'm telling you, in my highest vernacular, that is bullcorn. I used to say that so much, the church brought a can of hominy and put the face of a cow on it and gave it to me to remind me how many times I said something was bullcorn. When we think low, when we think this is it, that is bullcorn. This is the season of nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Your best days are in front of you. You have not lived your best day because God didn't make you to disintegrate. And Jesus didn't come to oversee your demise. He came that you would have life more and more and more and more and more. And nothing is impossible with God. But with distractions, all kinds of crap can happen. But with God, nothing is impossible. She said, well, how is this? Okay, I get the throne thing. I get the nothing impossible. But how? The angel said, I'll tell you how it's going to be. You're going to become overshadowed. Instead of you living in the shade of doubt, you're going to live under the cloud of all things are possible. You're going to get overshadowed by it. Everywhere you go, it's just going to be like an umbrella over you. Every time you turn, it's going to turn. Every time you walk, it's going to walk. Every time you step back, it's going to step back. Every time you move to the side, it's going to move to the side. I am with you always. I'm not going to leave you. I'm overshadowing you. He that dwelleth under the shadow of the Most High. I like it. You see, what is it talking about? It's talking about where is your mind? Where are your thoughts? Who are you thinking about? You remember when you first fell in love? You couldn't get her. You couldn't get him off your mind. Because you were in love, you were thinking about writing beautiful poems, buying beautiful flowers, taking them to beautiful dinners, wearing beautiful clothes, making sure you looked your beautiful best. That was when you were in love. That's when you were concentrating on love. That's worship. That's giving your life to something or someone. This is how it's supposed to be between us and God, where we're living in a way that we're letting God look its best in us. Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Where's heaven? It's right in here. It's right inside me. It's with me always. It never leaves me. It never forsakes me. It makes no mistakes. If a mistake is made in this vicinity, it is because this has been distracted by that. Instead of the constant awareness of that God is my all in all. You're going to get overshadowed by the power of the highest. I find this interesting. This last year I watched one of the science shows, and they went into great detail on how that men are becoming extinct. The male gender is in the process of becoming extinct. But it's going to be okay, scientists say, because women have all the biological makeup to reproduce. They don't, with the help of science, they don't have to have a man. Men are not so. That the chromosomes that determine a man being a man are becoming diminished, while the makeup of the female has remained stable. What does this mean? I don't know. I'm not worried about it. You say, well, why did you even bring that up? Well, because people think that that's impossible. We're constantly thinking that something is impossible. Just like Mary thought, I don't get this. How is this going to be? Well, I'll tell you how it's going to be. The power that makes everything possible is going to overshadow you. It's going to be right over you, right with you. It's going to perform through you, and therefore the child that you give birth to is going to be of that. That holy thing that shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. You say, oh, how wonderful that is. Well, why don't you think this is wonderful? Beloved, it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But right now, we know we are the sons of God. Why don't you get excited about that? Why is this, oh, wow. But when it comes to you, it's not, oh, wow. It's got to be about somebody else. You know, everybody that's a professional can only be a professional if they come from at least 50 miles away. Nobody can be a professional right here, right now, unless they flew in here from somewhere else. If we see somebody all the time, it's hard to, that's why Jesus said, you know, a prophet is without honor in his own country. Jesus, a prophet? I know him. I used to throw rocks with him. He's a prophet. Are y'all here? We don't just do that. We do that about us. We diminish ourselves instead of saying, you know what? I know my frailties, but inside me is something that makes anything possible. Nothing is impossible. If I can think it, it's possible. Now, you may not know how, but that's the good part of the Jesus message. You don't have to know how. What's breathing you knows how. It knows how. It knows how. It knows when. It knows where. It never messes up. Are y'all good? We're right in the Christmas season right here, right now. I don't care what scenario you can bring up and say, yeah, but you don't know about this. I don't care. You think that's a challenge to God? Are you kidding me? We need to use the message of this season to bring us back to our GPS. Just dial in the address. Where do you want to go? Let it take you there. Let God take you there. That's what Mary did. She didn't argue with him. You know what she said? She said the same thing God said in the beginning. She said, let it be unto me like you said. Does that feel good? Let that happen. I'm not going to get in the way of it. I'm not going to work against what you said good about me. I'm going to just let that happen in me. What if what I'm telling you right now, you would actually receive it and just say to it, I'm going to let that be. I'm telling you, your life will change the moment you say it and mean it. Let it be unto me like you said. If you do it, let me tell you what's going to happen. Same thing's going to happen to you when you leave this building that happened to Mary when she left the angel. She ran over to Elizabeth, her cousin's house. And as soon as she got in view, Elizabeth said, wow, what did I do to deserve the mother of my Lord coming to see me? How did you know that? Hey, there's this cloud over. There's this overshadowing thing happening. There's this, how did you know what I was thinking? Happens between people all the time. And sometimes not for the best of reasons. This is a real thing. This happens all the time. When you get your mind made up, you're going to let God run your life. When I first read Totally, I was so filled with joy about God in me. I'll never forget walking out of my car on the Home Depot lot at 151, and a woman I've never seen, and I've never seen her since. She worked there, but I never saw her before, and I go there all the time, and I've never seen her since. Was she an angel? I don't know. I only saw her that one time. I'll never forget her though. She locked eyes with me, and as I came toward her, she said, "You are very blessed, and you are going to be blessed." I said, "Thank you." Just happenstance, just coincidence. I'm telling you, when you get your mind right, when you realize that the throne of David has been your own inheritance by virtue of the Jesus message, that you have access, that he has caused you to sit in heavenly places together with him, and that on that throne, nothing is impossible for you. And when you embrace that, you become overshadowed by the power that makes all things possible. When you do it, and when you accept it, God will send somebody to you to affirm that you're on the right track. Stop doubting it. Stop sabotaging it. Stop getting distracted with the tree of this and that. Eat some fresh fruit from the tree of life. This is the Jesus message. This is the Christmas season. This is the Christmas story. This is what this is all about. This is why it's so wonderful every year when we sing, "Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord." Who is that? It's what's in you. It's your hope of glory. It's the mystery that's been hidden for ages and generations, but it's now revealed to the saints. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Come, let's adore him. Get your mind on him. Stop believing in what you see. Tell it when it's wrong. It has no power, no authority. Go back to the authority that is breathing you, that is thinking you, that is living you. You're not living off the calendar. You're living off of life. You're not living off of defamation. You are living off of encouragement and affirmation. Next week, we're going to get that next part of the story. We're going to talk about salvation. It's wonderful. It's here. It's yours. It belongs to you. Don't miss next week. If you do, you're going straight to hell. You will not pass go. You will not collect $200. The Cowboys will lose. Don't miss next week. Now, Troy, if you're not here, we're going to know. Are y'all good? I was doing good till I got to the Cowboys, right? Are y'all happy? Are y'all good? Is this a good season? Do you love Christmas? Do you love the reason for Christmas? Don't ever forget the reason for Christmas. Don't let anybody buy or sell you off of it. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. It lives in you. Amen? That's it. God bless.